plants are the eukaryotes that form the kingdom Plantae. They are predominantly photosynthetic. This means that they obtain their energy from sunlight, using chloroplasts derived from endosymbiosis with cyanobacteria to produce sugars from carbon dioxide and water, using the green pigment chlorophyll. Exceptions are parasitic plants that have lost the genes for chlorophyll and photosynthesis, and obtain their energy from other plants or fungi. Most plants are multicellular, except for some green algae. Historically, as in Aristotle's biology, the plant kingdom encompassed all living things that were not animals and included algae and fungi. Definitions have narrowed since then. Current definitions exclude the fungi and some of the algae. By the definition used in this article, plants form the clade Vegeta Plantae green plants, which consists of the green algae and the embryophytes or land plants hornworts, liverworts, mosses, lagophytes, ferns, conifers, and other gymnosperms, and flowering plants. A definition based on genomes includes the Vegeta Plantae, along with the red algae and the glaucophytes in the clade Archaeplastida. There are about 380,000 known species of plants, of which the majority, some 260,000, produce seeds. They range in size from single cells to the tallest trees. Green plants provide a substantial proportion of the world's molecular oxygen. The sugars they create supply the energy for most of Earth's ecosystems, and other organisms, including animals, either eat plants directly or rely on organisms which do so. Grain, fruit, and vegetables are basic human foods and have been domesticated for millennia. People use plants for many purposes, such as building materials, ornaments, writing materials, and, in great variety, for medicines. The scientific study of plants is known as botany, a branch of biology. All living things were traditionally placed into one of two groups, plants and animals. This classification dates from Aristotle 38432 BC, who distinguished different levels of beings in his biology. 5 based on whether living things had a sensitive soul, or like plants only a vegetative soul. 6 Theophrastus, Aristotle's student, continued his work in plant taxonomy and classification. 7 much later, Linnaeus 1707 to 1778 created the basis of the modern system of scientific classification, but retained the animal and plant kingdoms, naming the plant kingdom the Vegetabilia. 7 There are about 382,000 accepted species of plants, 15 of which the great majority, some 283,000, produce seeds. 16 The table below shows some species count estimates of different green plant Vegeta Plantae divisions. About 85 to 90% of all plants are flowering plants. Several projects are currently attempting to collect records on all plant species in online databases, e.g., the World Flora Online. 1517 plants range in scale from single-celled organisms such as desmids from 10 micrometer across and Picozoa less than 3 micrometers across, 1819, to the largest trees, megaflora, such as the conifer Sequoia sempervirens up to 120 meters 380 feet tall, and the angiosperm, Eucalyptus regnans up to 100 meters 325 feet tall. 20 The naming of plants is governed by the International Code of Nomenclature for Algae, Fungi, and Plants 32 and the International Code of Nomenclature for Cultivated Plants. 33 The ancestors of land plant and algal scum formed on the land 1,200 million years ago, but it was not until the Ordovician, around 450 million years ago, that the first land plants appeared, with a level of organization like that of bryophytes. 30 for 35. However, Fossils of organisms with a flattened thallus in Precambrian rocks suggest that multicellular freshwater eukaryotes existed over 1,000 years. 36 primitive land plants began to diversify in the late Silurian, around 420 million years ago. Bryophytes, club mosses, and ferns then appear in the fossil record. 37. Early plant anatomy is preserved in cellular detail in an early Devonian fossil assemblage from the Rinnichert. These early plants were preserved by being petrified in chert formed in silica-rich volcanic hot springs. 38. By the end of the Devonian, most of the basic features of plants today were present, including roots, leaves, and secondary wooden trees such as Archaeopteris. 39-40. The Carboniferous period saw the development of forests in swampy environments dominated by club mosses and horsetails, including some as large as trees, and the appearance of early gymnosperms. The first seed plants. 41. The Permo-Triassic extinction event radically changed the structures of communities. 42. This may have set the scene for the evolution of flowering plants in the Triassic to 200 million years ago, with an adaptive radiation in the Cretaceous so rapid that Darwin called it an abominable mystery. 43-40 for 45. Conifers diversify from the late Triassic onwards and became a dominant part of floras in the Jurassic. 46-47 phylogeny in 2019. A phylogeny based on genomes and transcriptomes from 1,153 plant species was proposed. 48. The placing of algal groups is supported by phylogenies based on genomes from the Mesostigmatophysi and Chlorokybophytes that have since been sequenced. Both the chlorophyte algae and the streptophyte algae are treated as paraphyletic vertical bars beside phylogenetic tree diagram in this analysis, as the land plants arose from within those groups. 49-50. The classification of Bryophyta is supported both by Puttick et al. 2018, 51, and by phylogenies involving the hornwort genomes that have also since been sequenced. 52, 53A Rotophyta glaucophyta, Virida plante chlorophyta Prasinococcus acophyta kixzzzzzzzzizz, Klebsiormidials, Characolio chatelish akashimimium. And bryophytes, hornworts, setophytes, liverworts, mosses, tracheophytes, lagophytes, euphylophytes, ferns, spermatophytes, gymnosperms, angiosperms, seed plants, land plants, green. Plants, plant cells, plant cell structure. Plant cells have distinctive features that other eukaryotic cells, such as those of animals, lack. These include the large water-filled central vacuole, chloroplasts, and the strong flexible cell wall, which is outside the cell membrane. Chloroplasts are derived from what was once a symbiosis of a non-photosynthetic cell and photosynthetic cyanobacteria. The cell wall, made mostly of cellulose, allows plant cells to swell up with water without bursting. The vacuole allows the cell to change in size while the amount of cytoplasm stays the same. 54. Disease-resistant splint. Disease-resistant splints use pattern recognition receptors to recognize pathogens such as bacteria that cause plant diseases. This recognition triggers a protective response. The first such plant receptors were identified in rice 72 and in Arabidopsis thaliana. 73 genomics. Further information. Plant genome plants have some of the largest genomes of all organisms. 70 for the largest plant genome in terms of gene number is that of wheat Triticum aestivum, predicted to encode approximately equals 94,000 genes, 75, and thus almost 5 times as many as the human genome. The first plant genome sequenced was that of Arabidopsis thaliana, which encodes about 25,500 genes. 76. In terms of sheer DNA sequence, the smallest published genome is that of the carnivorous bladderwort Utricularia gibba at 82 MB, although it still encodes 28,500 genes, 77 while the largest. From the Norway spruce Piscia abies, extends over 19.6 gigabits, encoding about 28,300 genes. 78 ecology distributing information. Biogeography, a map of a classification of the world's vegetation into biomes. Those named here include tundra, taiga, temperate broadleaf forest, temperate steppe, subtropical rainforest, Mediterranean vegetation, monsoon forest, arid desert, xeric shrubland, dry steppe, semi-arid desert, grass savanna, tree savanna, subtropical and tropical dry forest, tropical rainforest, alpine tundra, and montane forests. Shown in gray is ice sheet and polar desert devoid of plants. Plants are distributed almost worldwide. While they inhabit many biomes, which can be divided into a multitude of ecoregions, 79 only the hardy plants of the Antarctic flora, consisting of algae, mosses, liverworts, lichens, and just to flowering plants, have adapted to the prevailing conditions on that southern continent. 80 plants are often the dominant physical and structural component of the habitats where they occur. Many of the Earth's biomes are named for the type of vegetation because plants are the dominant organisms in those biomes, such as grassland, savanna, and tropical rainforest. 81 primary producers. Further information. Autotrophy photosynthesis conducted by land plants and algae is the ultimate source of energy and organic material in nearly all ecosystems. Photosynthesis, at first by cyanobacteria and later by photosynthetic eukaryotes, radically changed the composition of the early Earth's anoxic atmosphere, which as a result is now 21% oxygen. Animals and most other organisms are aerobic, relying on oxygen. Those that do not are confined to relatively rare anaerobic environments. Plants are the primary producers in most terrestrial ecosystems and form the basis of the food web in those ecosystems. 82 plants form about 80% of the world biomass at about 450 gigatons per point for times 1011 long tons, 5.0 times 1011 short tons of carbon. 83 ecological relationships numerous animals have coevolved with plants. Flowering plants have evolved pollination syndromes, suites of flower traits that favor their reproduction. Many, including insect and bird partners, are pollinators, visiting flowers and accidentally transferring pollen in exchange for food in the form of pollen or nectar. 80 for many animals disperse seeds that are adapted for such dispersal. Various mechanisms of dispersal have evolved. Some fruits offer nutritious outer layers attractive to animals, while the seeds are adapted to survive the passage through the animal's gut. Others have hooks that enable them to attach to a mammal's fur. 85 myrmecophytes are plants that have coevolved with ants. The plant provides a home and sometimes food for the ants. In exchange, the ants defend the plant from herbivores and sometimes competing plants. Ant wastes serve as organic fertilizer. 86 The majority of plant species have fungi associated with their root systems in a mutualistic symbiosis known as mycorrhiza. The fungi help the plants gain water and mineral nutrients from the soil, while the plant gives the fungi carbohydrates manufactured in photosynthesis. 87 Some plants serve as homes for endophytic fungi that protect the plant from herbivores by producing toxins. The fungal endophyte Neotyphodium coenophyllum in tall fescue grass has pest status in the American cattle industry. 88 Many legumes have rhizobium nitrogen-fixing bacteria and nodules of their roots, which fix nitrogen from the air for the plant to use. In return, the plants supply sugars to the bacteria. 89. Nitrogen fixed in this way can become available to other plants and is important in agriculture. For example, farmers may grow a crop rotation of a legume, such as beans, followed by a cereal, such as wheat, to provide cash crops with a reduced input of nitrogen fertilizer. 91% of plants are parasitic. They range from the semi-parasitic mistletoe that merely takes some nutrients from its host, but still has photosynthetic leaves, to the fully parasitic broomrape and toothwort that acquire all their nutrients through connections to the roots of other plants and so have no chlorophyll. Full parasites can be extremely harmful to their plant hosts. 91 plants that grow on other plants, usually trees, without parasitizing them, are called epiphytes. These may support diverse arboreal ecosystems. Some may indirectly harm their host plant, such as by intercepting light. Hemipophytes like the strangler fig begin as epiphytes, but eventually set their own roots and overpower and kill their host. Many orchids, bromeliads, ferns, and mosses grow as epiphytes. 92. Among the epiphytes, the bromeliads accumulate water in their leaf axils. These water-filled cavities can support complex aquatic food webs. 93. Some 630 species of plants are carnivorous, such as the Venus flytrap Dionea muscipula and Sundew Drosera species. They trap small animals and digest them to obtain mineral nutrients, especially nitrogen and phosphorus. 94. Competition for shared resources reduces a plant's growth. 95. 96. Shared resources include sunlight, water, and nutrients. Light is a critical resource because it is necessary for photosynthesis. 95. Plants use their leaves to shade other plants from sunlight and grow quickly to maximize their own expose. 95. Water, too, is essential for photosynthesis. Roots compete to maximize water uptake from soil. 97. Some plants have deep roots that are able to locate water stored deep underground, and others have shallower roots that are capable of extending longer distances to collect recent rainwater. 97. Minerals are important for plant growth and development. 98. Common nutrients competed for amongst plants include nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. 99. Food Mine article. Agriculture harvesting oats with a combine harvester. Human cultivation of plants is the core of agriculture, which in turn has played a key role in the history of world civilizations. 100. Humans depend on flowering plants for food, either directly or as feed in animal husbandry. More broadly, agriculture includes agronomy for arable crops, horticulture for vegetables and fruit, and forestry, including both flowering plants and conifers, for timber. 101. 102. About 7,000 species of plant have been used for food, though most of today's food is derived from only 30 species. The major staples include cereals, such as rice and wheat, starchy roots and tubers, such as cassava and potato, and legumes, such as peas and beans. Vegetable oils, such as olive oil and palm oil, provide lipids, while fruit and vegetables contribute vitamins and minerals to the diet. 103. Coffee, tea, and chocolate are major crops whose caffeine-containing products serve as mild stimulants. 104. The study of plant uses by people is called economic botany or ethnobotany. 105. Medicinus main article. Medicinal plants, a medieval physician preparing an extract from a medicinal plant. From an Arabic Dioscrides, 1220 for medicinal plants are a primary source of organic compounds, both for their medicinal and physiological effects, and for the industrial synthesis of a vast array of organic chemicals. 106. Many hundreds of medicines as well as narcotics, are derived from plants. Both traditional medicines used in herbalism 107-108 and chemical substances purified from plants are first identified in the M, sometimes by ethnobotanical search, and then synthesized for use in modern medicine. Modern medicines derived from plants include aspirin, Taxol, morphine, quinine, reserpine, colchicine, digitalis, and vincristine. Plants used in herbalism include ginkgo, echinacea, feverfew, and St. John's wort. The pharmacopoeia of Dioscorides, De Materia Medica, describing some 600 medicinal plants, was written between 50 and 70 CE and remained in use in Europe and the Middle East until around 1600 CE. It was the precursor of all modern pharmacopoeias. 109, 110, 111 non-food products, food crop timber in storage for later processing at a sawmill plants grown as industrial crops are the source of a wide range of products used in manufacturing. 112 non-food products include essential oils, natural dyes, pigments, waxes, resins, tannins, alkaloids, amber, and cork. Products derived from plants include soaps, shampoos, perfumes, cosmetics, paint, varnish, turpentine, rubber, latex, lubricants, linoleum, plastics, inks, and gums. Renewable fuels from plants include firewood, peat, and other biofuels. 113, 114. The fossil fuels coal, petroleum, and natural gas are derived from the remains of aquatic organisms including phytoplankton in geological time. 115. Many of the coal fields date to the Carboniferous period of Earth's history. Terrestrial plants also form type 3 kerogen, a source of natural gas. 116, 117 structural resources and fibers from plants are used to construct dwellings and to manufacture clothing. Wood is used for buildings, boats, and furniture, and for smaller items such as musical instruments and sports equipment. Wood is pulped to make paper and cardboard. 118. Cloth is often made from cotton, flax, ramie, or synthetic fibers such as rayon, derived from plant cellulose. Thread used to sew cloth likewise comes in large part from cotton. 119. Ornamental plants. Ornamental plant Rosa spalier at Niedernhall in Germany. Thousands of plant species are cultivated for their beauty and to provide shade, modify temperatures, reduce wind, abate noise, provide privacy, and reduce soil erosion. Plants are the basis of a multi-billion-dollar per year tourism industry, which includes travel to historic gardens, national parks, rainforests, forests with colorful autumn leaves, and festivals such as Japan's 120 and America's Cherry Blossom Festivals. 121 plants may be grown indoors as houseplants or in specialized buildings such as greenhouses. Plants such as Venus flytrap, sensitive plant, and resurrection plant are sold as novelties. Art forms specializing in the arrangement of cut or living plant include bonsai, ikebana, and the arrangement of cut or dried flowers. Ornamental plants have sometimes changed the course of history, as in tulipomania. 122 in science. Barbara McClintock used maize to study inheritance of traits. Further information, botany and model organism. The traditional study of plants is the science of botany. 123. Basic biological research has often used plants as its model organisms. In genetics, the breeding of pea plants allowed Gregor Mendel to derive the basic laws governing inheritance. 124. And examination of chromosomes in maize allowed Barbara McClintock to demonstrate their connection to inherited traits. 125. The plant Arabidopsis thaliana is used in laboratories as a model organism to understand how genes control the growth and development of plant structures. 126. Tree rings provide a method of dating in archaeology and a record of past climates. 127. The study of plant fossils, or paleobotany, provides information about the evolutions of plants, paleogeographical reconstructions, and past climate change. Plant fossils can also help determine the age of rocks. 128. In mythology, religion, and culture. Further information. Human uses of plants section in mythology and religion. Plants including trees appear in mythology, religion, and literature. 129, 130, 131. In multiple Indo-European, Siberian, and Native American religions, the world tree motif is depicted as a colossal tree growing on the earth, supporting the heavens, and with its roots reaching into the underworld. It may also appear as a cosmic tree or an eagle and serpent tree. 130 to 133 forms of the world tree include the archetypal tree of life, which is in turn connected to the Eurasian concept of the sacred tree. 130 for another widespread ancient motif, found for example in Iran, has a tree of life flanked by a pair of confronted animals. 135 flowers are often used as memorials, gifts, and to mark special occasions such as births, deaths, weddings, and holidays. Flower arrangements may be used to send hidden messages. 136 plants, and especially flowers, form the subjects of many paintings. 137, 138. Negative effects. Musk thistle is an invasive species in Texas. Many plants produce toxins to protect themselves from herbivores. Major classes of plant toxins include alkaloids, terpenoids, and phenolics. 142. These can be harmful to humans and livestock by ingestion. 143, 144, or, as with poison ivy, by contact. 145. Some plants have negative effects on other plants, preventing seedling growth or the growth of nearby plants by releasing allopathic chemicals. Plant structure. Further information. Plant anatomy and plant morphology of a seed plant. 1. Shoot system. 2. Root system. 3. Hypocotyl. 4. Terminal bud. 5. Leaf blade. 6. Internode. 7. Axillary bud pate. Petiole. 9. Stem. 10. Nodes. 11. Taproot. 12. Root hairs. 13. Root tip of 14. Root cap. Most plants are multicellular. Plant cells contain chlorophylls inside their chloroplasts, which are green pigments that are used to capture light energy. The end-to-end chemical equation for photosynthesis is 56,6CO to plus 6H to O gives light 6H1 to O6 plus 6O2. Display style is 6CO2 plus 6H to O. Text light C6H1 to O6 plus 6O2. This causes plants to release oxygen. Green plants provide a substantial proportion of the world's molecular oxygen, alongside the contributions from photosynthetic algae and cyanobacteria. 57, 58, 59 plants that have secondarily adopted a parasitic lifestyle may lose the genes involved in photosynthesis and the production of chlorophyll. 60. Growth and repair. Growth is determined by the interaction of a plant's genome with its physical and biotic environment. 61. Factors of the physical or abiotic environment include temperature, water, light, carbon dioxide, and nutrients in the soil. 62. Biotic factors that affect plant growth include crowding, grazing, beneficial symbiotic bacteria and fungi, and attacks by insects or plant diseases. 63. Frost and dehydration can damage or kill plants. Some plants have antifreeze proteins, heat shock proteins, and sugars in their cytoplasm that enable them to tolerate these stresses. 64. Plants are continuously exposed to a range of physical and biotic stresses which cause DNA damage, but they can tolerate and repair much of this damage. 65. Reproduction main article. Plant reproduce. Time plants reproduce to generate offspring, whether sexually, involving gametes, or asexually, involving ordinary growth. Many plants use both mechanisms. 66. Sexual alternation of generations between a haploid and gametophyte top and a diploid to ensporophyte bottom. In all types of plant, when reproducing sexually, plants have complex life cycles involving alternation of generations. One generation, the sporophyte, which is diploid with 2 sets of chromosomes, gives rise to the next generation, the gametophyte, which is haploid with 1 set of chromosomes. Some plants also reproduce asexually via spores. In some non-flowering plants, such as mosses, the sexual gametophyte forms most of the visible plant. 67. In seed plants, gymnosperms, and flowering plants, the sporophyte forms most of the visible plant, and the gametophyte is very small. Flowering plants reproduce sexually using flowers, which contain male and female parts. These may be within the same hermaphrodite flower, on different flowers on the same plant, or on different plants. The stamens create pollen, which produces male gametes that enter the ovule to fertilize the egg cell of the female gametophyte. Fertilization takes place within the carpels or ovaries, which develop into fruits that contain seeds. Fruits may be dispersed whole, or they may split open and the seeds dispersed individually. 68. Asexual Fichinus spiralis spreads asexually with runners in the sand. Plants reproduce asexually by growing any of a wide variety of structures capable of growing into new plants. At the simplest, plants such as mosses or liverworts may be broken into pieces, each of which may regrow into whole plants. The propagation of flowering plants by cuttings is a similar process. Structures such as runners enable plants to grow to cover an area, forming a clone. Many plants grow food storage structures, such as tubers or bulbs, which may each develop into a new plant. 69. Some non-flowering plants, such as many liverworts, mosses, and some club mosses, along with a few flowering plants, grow small clumps of cells called gemmae, which can detach and grow. 70-71.